Tonight, plans to reopen businesses come with lots of rules.
It is something Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner questioned just today.
What is the enforcement mechanism? I mean, you can say 25% for bars, but how do you enforce that?
KHU11 Investigates found out businesses that are breaking the rules are no longer being written up in Houston.
So what is the deal? Jeremy Rogowski took that question straight to Fire Chief Sam Pena.
With the state's reopening in full swing, complaints of noncompliance continue to pour in. The Houston Fire Department has investigated more than 1,500 since the reopening. That's more than a third of all complaints since mid-March, when bars and dine-in restaurant business was shut down. But recently, HFD shifted its enforcement approach.
As of May 9th, we have not been issuing any citations, and we haven't been issuing any notices of violation.
The department had written a total of 10 citations and 150 warnings or notices of violation.
No one could be put behind bars.
But that all changed shortly after Governor Abbott intervened in the jailing of a Dallas hair salon owner.
The governor has not been supporting our enforcement efforts.
But Chief Sam Pena says from the get-go, punishing business owners was not the goal. Education, health, and safety is.
For the most part, people have been voluntarily complying with our approach, and that's what we want.
And he wants Houstonians to call 311 if they see something wrong. A task force of 20 investigators goes out every day to check out complaints. Back to you.
Thank you, Jeremy. We'd like to hear your stories as the economy starts moving again. What's working? What's not? Are businesses sticking to the state's guidelines? We'd like to hear about it from your point of view. You can simply message us on Facebook or email us at newstips@khou.com. Or better yet, send us video or pictures and share your story that way. New tonight, a federal judge has ruled all registered voters in Texas can apply to vote by mail during the next election. The judge says he worries about the health and safety of voters who would otherwise be forced to gather in crowded polling locations during this pandemic. But that order is likely to be appealed. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has argued voting by mail will open up the potential for voter fraud.
Help is coming for at least 20,000 Harris County families hurt financially by COVID-19. County commissioners voted to set aside $30 million for a relief fund. Families could get up to $1,500 in aid to cover rent, food, childcare, and other needs. But this will not be a first-come, first-served process. The first half of the money will go to people already identified by nonprofits, and those checks could start going out next week. People can start applying to receive the next half in late June or early July, and those recipients will be chosen at random.
If you're still waiting on your stimulus payment, be on the lookout in the mail. Starting this week, the IRS is sending nearly 4 million people a debit card in the mail. These cards are for people who didn't give the IRS their bank information. And a lot of you have other questions about your stimulus money. So tonight, our Grace White is taking a closer look.
As the economy reopens, some people want to start spending, but they're still waiting on those stimulus checks, and they want to know why. Tonight, we're digging into some of your questions and getting answers.
Tina Clement messaged us. She says, I'm on SSI disability and I still haven't received my $1,200. I have my money deposited into my bank account every month. I don't know what to do. The answer? Those checks should be coming out soon. According to IRS.gov, supplemental security income and veteran benefit recipients will start receiving paper checks in the mail mid-May, so any day now. Our next question from Dennis McDonald in Magnolia.
The IRS Get My Payment website, it says that my payment was released, my stimulus payment was released on May 13th into my direct deposit into my bank account. But the bank does not show it.
We checked into Dennis's question and found if a direct deposit was issued and the bank doesn't receive the money, you cannot change your bank account. Instead, the IRS says it will try mailing you a check, but it could take 2 extra weeks. You should be able to see the date mailed under Get My Payment. Letitia Price sent us this question. I have not received my stimulus check. I keep getting payment status not available. That might be because your 2019 tax return hasn't been processed, or you don't normally file a return and you tried entering your payment information online under non-filers. or you're not eligible for a payment.
The IRS says they know they have a few kinks on that website, specifically in the payment status section. They tell us they're working on an update to give you more options. If you have a question for us, send it to us on Facebook or Twitter. Back to you.
To learn more about the stimulus money, simply text the word money to 713-526-1111. We will send you a link with the information you need.
Let's take a closer look at the actual COVID-19 numbers tonight. Each night we're charting out COVID-19 trends, and tonight we're focusing in on a very slight uptick. We're looking at, especially, want to even highlight it here for you, the past 3 days. See that uptick? This is in new daily cases for our region, and we're talking about that moving 14-day average. It's the dark blue dotted line, and it's something we'll be keeping a very close eye on as reopening continues. This chart covers a 19-county region, which includes Fort Bend County, where we've learned there is a new crisis team. And as Lauren Tallarico explains, their first task is testing the most vulnerable.
When it comes to COVID-19, nursing homes have been some of the hardest hit places in Texas. With more than 3,100 cases statewide and 515 deaths, this population has a 16% mortality rate, which is why last week Governor Greg Abbott mandated that all nursing home residents and employees be tested.
It is absolutely a big task.
Fort Bend County Judge KP George says they were given until the end of the month to test everyone, with the logistics left up to them.
That is not something we can just walk in and test everybody in like 2 hours and go home. It takes hundreds of tests a day.
Which is why today, Fort Bend's Commissioner's Court signed off on a strike team to help, made up of members from fire departments across the county and EMS. The members will be trained and over the next week ensure that everyone in the 15 Fort Bend County nursing homes is tested.
They are already started working with nursing homes.
George says tests and equipment will be funded by the Texas Department of Emergency Management, which will oversee the team along with EMS and Health and Human Services.
It's not just about that mandate.
From a possible second wave of COVID-19 to a hurricane, George says this team could be used for it all.
We wanted to make sure if in case there is something else we need to do in the future, it's more like creating a future infrastructure.
Standing for Houston, I'm Lauren Tallarico, KHOU 11 News.
The rift between President Trump and the World Health Organization is widening.
He is threatening to stop funding the agency permanently. What President Trump is demanding tops your 90-second nightcap.
The president has also sent a scathing 4-page letter to the World Health Organization, threatening to permanently freeze its funding unless the agency commits to major changes in the next 30 days.
They have to be much more fair to other countries, including the United States, or we're not going to be involved with them anymore. We'll do it a separate way.
The WHO's Director General agreed to undertake an independent review.
The widow of NASA astronaut John Glenn died today from complications related to COVID-19. Annie Glenn was 100 years old. Glenn was married to John for 73 years and was a lifelong advocate for people with disabilities. She died near St. Paul, Minnesota, where she had moved to be in a senior living facility close to her daughter. John Glenn was the first American to orbit the Earth. He died in 2016 at the age of 95.
It's the end of the road for Pier 1 Imports. The Texas-based company plans to close all of its stores for good, more than 500 of them. The chain's been struggling financially. It filed for bankruptcy 3 months ago. Orders placed online, though, will continue to be fulfilled.
And being pent up with loved ones has its moments, but there's a way to escape without leaving the house. Family forts. IKEA has given the world instructions on how to build 6 do-it-yourself forts, including a cave, castle, and tent. The building materials involve common household items like chairs, couches, and books.
All right, so in my household, Mia, my best solution to fixing things like that, hire somebody, because I can't do it.
Oh my goodness, Lynn.
I'm putting it out there.
You know, instructions, you just got to follow the instructions, but will you need an instruction manual for the instructions? That is the question.